Yeah.
Where do you want to start, man? Because we're going to talk about the free agency stuff. We haven't had a chance to connect in a while on the pod. Like talking hoops. I mean, I like talking everything with you, but where do you want to start with free agency? We're going to talk about some of the moves, but is there anything in particular?
You want to go Gobert?
That's your man's, right? You love Rudy G.
I mean, it kind of justifies. Like, we have like a running joke with our friend Josh.
Yeah.
Josh, believes Andre Drummond is better than Rudy Gobert, and it's like, look, I'm not telling you Rudy Gobert's a top 10 player in the league, top 15 even, but he's better than Andre Drummond. Let's not get it twisted. But anyway, I was surprised that he went for that much. 4 first-rounders, 3 unprotected, Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Walker Kessler, who was the 22nd pick in the draft, Leandro Balmero, who was the 23rd pick 2 years ago, who actually was a Knick draft pick, if I'm not mistaken, who then got traded to Timberwolves. That's why I know that guy. And Jared Vanderbilt, who's a solid rotational piece, good player, young, solid player, I would say. But I think it's the 4 first-rounders, 3 unprotected. It's similar to an Anthony Davis trade package.
Anytime some shit goes down like this, if you are a team in the league that is looking to maybe acquire a Durant, right? We'll get to Durant in a bit. But it's like the same shit that happens in football when a guy gets a contract at a position that, if you're the Chargers now, and Deshaun Watson got a fully guaranteed contract for, what was it, $250 million?
Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck, man, what is Justin Herbert going to take us for, right?
Yep.
So, like, it creates a new market. So where I'm going to with Rudy Gobert is, there was a funny bit that Richard Jefferson had with Malika Andrews where she's like, if all this stuff went down for Rudy Gobert, what is Durant going to command? And he's like, France. He's like,
the entire country.
The entire country. So it's like, this is what happens whenever there's a deal done or a new contract. The pitcher gets paid, a right fielder gets paid, a point guard, whatever, anything. A safety. Now it's like the next guy, if there's going to be a guy that's going to get traded or a new contract, you're like, yo, this is the new market now. And it's like, oh, that's a lot for Rudy Gobert. I have a big problem with it. I don't like guys like Rudy Gobert that with 4 minutes left in a game, he is a non-factor on the offensive side of the ball. For as great as he is defensively, he's a liability to me. And whatever his points per game are, they're all dunks and alley-oops.
I don't like it more than I like it, but I can give you 2 sides.
Okay.
Like,
yeah,
if you're if you're a Wolves fan, I can see 2 sides of it though, and I can make you feel better or I can make you feel worse. But I can see both sides. I can see why they did it.
So tell me why you think they did it and why you like it.
You're pushing all your chips in the middle of the table when you have 2 stars on your team already. Locked in for the next 5 to 7 years. Controlled. Air quotes, controlled. Because we know, some guys are on 4-year deals like Durant who wants out. So what is this idea of, having them under control? But relatively speaking, you got Ant Edwards on his rookie contract. Every single rookie will sign the rookie extension.
Yeah.
Right? Every single person does it. You have Cat, who just re-signed, who we'll get to, at some point. You got your 2 main guys already locked in, not going anywhere. Minnesota, not exactly a destination for free agents.
Mm-mm.
So I do think there's an element. Oh, and by the way, you got D'Lo, who I think could unlock some things for Rudy Gobert in the pick and roll, in the offense. He's never played with a passer like that. Say what you want about Donovan Mitchell, but he's much more of a scorer, off-ball guy, and Mike Conley is a little over the hill. So I do think there is some untapped potential with Rudy Gobert, potentially on the offensive side of the ball with a D'Lo there. But, you're putting all your chips in front of the table, on the table, and you're basically saying, like, let's go. You got to assume Ant Edwards, a Cat, and a Gobert, you'll make the playoffs every single year. Hopefully you get out of the first round and into the second round, and those picks, are in the 20s. And, that's that. What do you think?
No, you're absolutely right that let's go back a couple of years ago, the Bucks made the trade for Drew Holiday.
That's a great example.
At the time, it's like, yo, that's a lot for Drew Holiday. But they go on to win a championship. A lot of people, myself including, I think they get back to the finals if Middleton is healthy. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. We can nitpick at so many seasons, right?
I agree.
So at the time, you were like, holy shit, that's a lot for Drew Holiday. If Drew Holiday is getting 3 first-round picks, what would a guy like Damian Lillard go for? Or would a guy like Steph Curry go for if they were on the block, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, those guys are better players than him. But we're just saying like the new market thing, mm-hmm. the example of the new market. So to me, what is it that you want as a franchise? Are you happy with just making the playoffs and, yeah, you win a series?
I think, but look, why are you clapping? Minnesota hasn't sniffed playoff success in their entire existence.
So, but how do you justify a move like this right now, playing devil's advocate?
You have 3 all-NBA caliber players on your team.
Right, but one of them is a liability for you when there's 4 minutes left in the game. Because we've seen it time and time again. And you're talking about the playoffs, right? In the playoffs, he gets exposed.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it could be different in Minnesota. I love a good coach. Chris Finch comes from the Nick Nurse tree. He's an excellent coach. He turned his team around pretty quickly, would you say?
Big coach tree guy.
But did he not turn
he did, yeah.
No, not many people saw this out of the Timberwolves. So, and by the way, just to refresh everyone's memory, he was hired mid-season last year. Usually coaches get hired in the offseason. But they had interviewed him before Saunders, Ryan Saunders, the son. They wound up giving Saunders the job, but they loved Finch. When it was time to find a new coach mid-season, they just brought a guy that was already on a bench. So it was a very unique situation, kind of almost enforcing, like, this guy's a really good guy. We don't care. We're going to just go get the guy we want. We don't care if it's the middle of the season. Anyway, I think there's some untapped potential with Rudy, with having a power forward, a cat at the 4 that could space the floor. You have a point guard D'Lo, who can create, who is great in a pick and roll. And you have an Anthony Edwards, who is a superstar, on the cusp of being a superstar, who, can really do some interesting things with the rock as well, potentially in a pick and roll situation with Rudy Gobert. So I just think that maybe, in a different scheme, in a different offense with different players around him, arguably more talented players around him, things could be different.
Yeah, I would say that. I think Minnesota has a better roster than Utah.
Utah's roster, I think, is terrible.
Yeah. So, I mean, now especially. Like, he went to a better team. And you're right. Like, their top 4 guys, that's a nice 4 to have. Because you got to understand that now you're not expecting as much for D'Angelo Russell. Because he's not, like, the main go-to guy. You have 2 guys ahead of him. Even before Rudy Gobert got there. So it's like now he's playing in a more comfortable role for himself. It's like the Andrew Wiggins thing, right? Yeah. Like Andrew Wiggins found a home in Golden State because he's the 4th, 5th option sometimes. So when you get the bonus, the 17 and 16 game, it's like, holy shit, this is dope as
now
hell.
If Rudy scores, you're so right, and that's something that I didn't even think of. Now when Rudy scores 12 points, that's like a cherry on top.
Yeah.
Because he's, the 4th guy, to your point, that you're expecting to get some buckets. So that's a great point that I overthought.
This is, how like in the NFL we talk about the best luxury you can have is the quarterback on the rookie contract, the good quarterback on the rookie contract, because you have that 4 or 5 year window before they really get the $40 million plus a year against your cap. It's kind of the same thing in the NBA where Luka, Booker prior to this huge extension, Zion prior to this huge extension, Ja, all these guys, Anthony Edwards now, they're not making the super max money yet, so you could take on a contract like this. So it's a little similar in the sense of like Anthony Edwards. I know Combo, who I have on the podcast often, he's been adamant on his social media all the time. Anytime he comes on, he's like, Anthony Edwards can win an MVP.
Yeah.
He's that good of a player.
Yeah.
Hell of an actor too, right? You saw that movie?
I enjoyed Hustle.
I enjoyed it too, bro.
Entertaining.
Oh yeah.
He was a good villain. He played the villain very well.
Love me to heal, son.
Yeah.
So I think Rudy Gobert now, if he gets you 15 and 12, you're like, yeah, this is good. Yeah. Because you could get Towns to get you 25 to 30. Edwards could get you 25 to 30. D'Angelo Russell could get you, the 15 to 18 points you need. So now the level of expectation, what you need from a performance standpoint from him, I think it justifies this move a little bit.
And, there's the element of there's new ownership led by A-Rod and co. And, new owners want to make a splash sometimes. That's very real, and
Steve Ballmer did it.
Prokhorov.
Yeah.
Which is actually, there's some kind of, they're a little related when we talk about the Jazz side of this. But new owners want to make a splash. That group just got majority control, I think, and made a move.
Yeah, I don't have a problem when the owner wants to make a move. You know who I have a problem with? When the GM is on his way out.
Yeah.
And then they make a move.
Yeah. I think everyone's in lockstep here. So, I mean, you draft Ant Edwards, they've assembled I would say a good roster of young talent with a good mix of vets as well. I mean, pre-trade, like I don't know, this idea of like having a bunch of kids on your roster, like I like a mix of having some veterans in addition to young guys so they could teach them how to play, teach them how to win. Even if you are struggling a little bit, like you're not winning all these games, it's still good to have like vets in the locker room. Obviously, they punched above, expectations last year with the play-in, and they wound up making the playoffs. But
no, you can't have a bunch of like 35-year-old dudes on the team, and you can't have a bunch of 25-year-old dudes on the team.
Well, 25 is old in the NBA almost.
Yeah, word. You've
not old, but
you've been in the league for like 6 years. Yeah, no, you're right. That's a good point. But I feel I agree with you. Like I wouldn't want to build a roster of just a bunch of just like, even remember Oklahoma City? Mm-hmm. They had the 4 or 5 guys that were under 23, but then you had like Perkins was there, and then you had Derek Fisher came in for a little bit. So you had that grizzled vet to be like, hey man, we're in South Beach, so let's not be out till fucking 3 a.m., right? Like, make sure we get in bed and we do our business and handle, like, you need that veteran leadership because, well, we've talked about it all the time, right? Like, I'm 31 years old. If I just make $20 million out of nowhere, I'm going to act a little crazy. I'm going to get a little wild.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's only right, especially where some of these kids, these situations that you come into, you're eating ramen noodles in college. Well, now it's a little different because you got the NIL, but how about those horror stories where, like,
peanut butter jelly sandwiches,
and
crackers.
Shabazz Napier is like, yo, I ain't eat, and I won the national championship, right? He's like, yo, I didn't eat for like, I'd come back from practice and shit. So it's just, you make all this money, so that's why it's a good balance to have like your grizzled vets and the young bucks.
The last thing that I just want to say is, say what you want about Rudy Gobert, man. Those are regular season. Those are draft picks that are based on how you do in the regular season. Mm-hmm. And I don't care what you say about Rudy Gobert. He raises your floor a whole bunch. The Utah Jazz, for better or worse, have been kind of a mainstay in the Western Conference, right? Getting by around here or there. But I think he really does elevate you. I can't see them missing the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not telling you that's like the reason you make the move, but I'm just saying their floor has been raised. Do you know what I mean? Where those picks, like even if you look at the lottery, bro, like look at the lottery over the last 5 years. How many of those guys are still on the same team? Like, I think a lot of that is overrated. And again, you got 3, all NBA guys. Your floor is raised. Those picks may or may not, amount to anything, but I bet that they're not much. So I don't know. That's the side for Minnesota.